All right, we have just talked about doing that percentages and finding those percentiles for that area below a particular z-score, making sure that we can write that probability notation and use our calculator to find that percent. Well, now we're going to look at different areas. The area above a particular point as opposed to the area below. So when I had asked you to kind of take a look at some of these, try them, see what you can do. So here we wanted the proportion of apples above 8.2. So with same mean and standard deviation, but the x value is 8.2. So when I'm coming over here, then of course I had not put in what these things were. So this was our 6, and then our 7, and then our 8. So you can see that line was just a little bit to the right of the 8, so that it was at 8.2. Okay. Well, we have to have a z-score. We can't put context into the calculator. It has to be z-scores. So let's go calculate that. So we've got our x minus the mean over the standard deviation, x minus the mean over the standard deviation. So there is our z-score of 2.2. And you can see this line I drew is 2 and a little more standard deviations above the mean. So if we want to go from that point up to positive infinity, then we're going to do normal CDF. So when you go above a particular point, you want to go to upper infinity. So we're going to simulate that with a positive 99. So norm CDF from 2.2 up to 99, and that comes out to 0.0139. So okay, so now that's our 4 decimal places. So let's do that as a percent, and let's show the notation for percentile or percentage, our probability notation. So look here at how I did this. P with the z being greater than, you need to know how to do the direction of your inequality, greater than 2.2. So the probability that I have greater than 2.2 is that 1.39%. That's what that came out to be. And so here is that you need to have this part in the blue. The part that I have in the norm CDF part, that is not required. That's calculator. Now over here, I do need to see you identifying what the little variables are. And then I need to see this part in blue. Okay, moving on. So find the proportion of oranges. So now we're talking about the oranges mean and standard deviation. So the mean of 7.5 with a standard deviation of 1.5. Then find the probability that it weighs more than 6.2. So if you're looking over here, if you're thinking about where this stuff is located, okay, then in that middle is your 7.5. So I'm not exactly sure where it is, but this here is 6. So then that is why this is a little above 6. So I can tell that's where it's located, and I want the shaded area above. Okay, so then that brings me to my z-score. My x minus the mean over the standard deviation, x minus the mean over the standard deviation, negative 0.87. Now, please, 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 just because this is a decimal, that doesn't mean it's a percent. Sometimes my students think that. Negative 0.87 means you're not quite one whole full decimal or one full whole number standard deviation down. You're only 0.87 of a standard deviation down. Okay, 0.87 standard deviations down. It is not 87%. Okay, so here then we're going to norm CDF from that negative 0.87 up to 99, and that's how I get that this is 80.78%. Okay, but let's do our probability notation. Let's do our correct notation. And that would be probability, the P, that Z is greater than the Z-score we got, negative 0.87. And then that is the answer that the norm CDF gave me, 80.78%. Okay, so review, that is what's happening when you go above a particular location. Your calculator is going from that Z-score up to 99, as opposed to the earlier stuff where we went from negative 99 up to the Z-score. Okay, so next we then are going to talk about going in between. In between is double the work because we're not going to have 99 or negative 99 as one of our bounds. Our two bounds are going to be either, they're both going to be Z-scores. So then we have two computing to do. All right, so find the percentage of apples that falls between 4.5 ounces and 6.2 ounces. So there's my mean, standard deviation. The lower x is 4.5, the upper x is 6.2. Compute the Z-score for both of them. X minus the mean over the standard deviation. X minus the mean over the standard deviation. Okay, so the lower one is 1.5 standard deviations down. And the upper one is, just a teeny tiny bit above the mean, 0.2. So just a little bit above the mean, 0.2. So when I do my calculator, my lower bound is negative 1.2. And my upper bound is, or negative 1.5, I believe. So the lower was negative 1.5. Is that what it was? Yes, negative 1.5. My upper bound was the positive 0.2. So then I'm going to put that here. My upper bound was the positive 0.2. If you have the older operating system, then you put the comma in between those. And then here we go. And there it is, 0.512. Look at that last number. That is not a 4. It's not 0.5124. It's 0.5125. Please round. Learn how to round. I mean, if nothing else, you're a senior in high school, let's learn how to round correctly. Okay? So 51.25%. And so we did that norm CDF from negative 1.5 to 0.2, and there we have it. Ooh, but let's talk about how we show the probability notation. That's a little tricky. So here we go. Let's take a look at that. Look what I have here in blue. So here we go. So I need to show, see here, I'm showing that I have this Z-score in between negative 1.5 and 0.2. But look, make your inequalities point to that lower value. So you're just going to do the probability, and then you're going to write your numbers from least to greatest. And then you have the Z in the middle going from the negative 1 to the positive 1. Okay? So there's how that looks. And then that gives you that 51.25%. Okay, try this next one. Here we have X. It's the oranges. So you had to use the mean of 7.5 with standard deviation of 1.5. X minus the mean over the standard deviation. That's 0.2. With this upper Z-score of 9.8 minus 7.5 over the standard deviation, 1.53. So I'm going to be going from 0.2 as the lower bound to 1.53 as the upper bound. And that in my calculator comes out to be 35.77%. So take a look at this probability notation. The Z is in the middle, right your z-scores from lowest, 0.2, to the highest, 1.53, and then do your inequalities, point to the left. Point to the left. So, in summary, let's look at what's happening here. And then you're going to practice a couple more. So, if your area is below a particular z-score, then there you have it. Your norm CDFing from negative 99 to that z-score, because negative infinity up to that z-score. And so then that lower bound is your negative infinity, your negative 99, and your upper bound is that z-score. If you're going above, then the lower bound is that z-score. And you're going up to positive infinity, so you're going up to 99. But if you are in between, then you have two z-scores. In between, you have two z-scores. You're going to norm CDF between the lower z-score and the upper z-score. All right. So I want you to go ahead and stop this video and practice the 3 problems below. They practice one of each type, and then I'll go over how you do those.